Pokemon Champions has been out for over a week now, and we have had a lot of fun trying to figure out what the strongest Pokemon in the game are and the strongest strategies in the game are. But today I wanted to take a look a little further down the viability rankings at a few Pokemon that you basically never see used in VGC play, either now or historically, that actually got huge buffs that might have even taken them to the cusp of viability, if not further. And without further ado, let's jump into it. The first Pokemon that I want to talk about is one of my personal favorites, which is Heliolisk. It got 3 new moves in this game. Trailblaze, which is not going to use. Morning Sun, which does not really work too well with solar power. And most importantly, it got Shed-Tail. Shed-Tail is a really strong move. It allows you to create a substitute for another Pokemon and also switch into them for free, which has seen a lot of competitive play, primarily on teams centered around Orthworm. However, it does have some downsides as well, notably that you are giving up half your health to create a substitute that is only worth a quarter of your health. And Heliolisk, with a relatively low hit point total, is going to be passing smaller substitutes than normal. You're not actually going to get a lot of bulk out of this. So sadly, it is not the best Shed-Tail setter, but you can see how it does what Orthworm does in a slightly different way, right? Orthworm is a Pokemon that has Earth Eater, which lets it heal hit points when it takes a ground type move like Earthquake. So you set it up next to a partner that clicks Earthquake, you heal back up with Orthworm, and then you Shed-Tail off to a partner. Usually a multi-scale Dragonite, which of course is a very powerful option in this game, and allow it to hit really hard while still having multi-scale active and being protected with a substitute. Heliolisk has Dry Skin, which allows it to heal up from a water move such as Surf that might hit your partner, and then also set up a Shed-Tail. However, because it's fast, it gets a lot more awkward, because 1, it's less likely to have taken a hit by the time it moves, and 2, there are very few good options to click Surf next to a Heliolisk that really want to be clicking Surf next to a Heliolisk. And also, once you get your substitute in front of another Pokemon, because you probably moved first, you probably ended up losing that substitute from an attack that was originally targeting at that Heliolisk. So that is the downside of this. That being said, I do think it has some merit, and it does have a decent speed tier. You can see it outspeeds Garchomp, which is pretty notable, and Floette, which is notable, and it gets some really strong support moves. Most notably, I really like Electroweb on this guy. It's just a really strong form of speed control. However, it also gets the move Glare, if I can find that, which is really cool too. It is a normal type move that allows you to paralyze opponents, which includes, by the way, that aforementioned Garchomp. And so if you Glare a Garchomp, despite it being a ground type, it'll be paralyzed, and then you can allow your partner Pokemon to maybe surprise and knock it out, which no one's going to see coming, right? You lead a Garchomp into a Heliolisk, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Some other moves that it gets that I wanted to call out, it does get different weather moves. You can Rain Dance in front of Charizards, and it also does get Solar Power as an ability if you want to put it on a Charizard team and click some big Thunderbolts, for example, or if you want to click Volt Switch and not run Shed-Tail at all, that's also an option. But I do think that it's just not strong enough as an attacker. I think you really need to use it in a support role and trust it to do support things. Eerie Impulse being a really good move, allowing you to drop opponent's special attack stages by 2. And again, that can protect a more physical, bulky attacker in the same way that Shed-Tail can protect another attacker. So it makes it a really strong support Pokemon. Now, you probably should run max HP, and now I'm thinking about it just to give off better substitutes. But I also realized that it has a really big Sneasler weakness. It is slower than Sneasler, and so you get close combated by it and just kind of go down. So either you have to run Focus Sash, which defeats the point of Shed-Tail, or in my opinion, you can run a Chople Berry as another option, especially if you want to preserve your Focus Sash on a different Pokemon. So you can run Chople Berry with this EV spread to live a close combat, although you will be giving out smaller substitutes than if you had a higher HP stat. Oh, also it gets Ally Switch, so don't be caught off guard by that. It can just, switcheroo a little bit, do a little switch with a Pokemon that's weak to a water type move and switch into that immunity with Ally Switch. So that is another cool option that this guy gets. But is this Pokemon viable? Probably not. Although there are very few good electric types in this metagame right now. And so you kind of got to give it some consideration with good speed tier, a good set of support moves, and either Dry Skin or Solar Power as two relatively strong abilities. I don't think Shed Tail pushes it over the viability threshold, but it does merit more consideration than it used to. Next up, I want to talk about the elemental monkeys. In this case, Simipour, although Simisage and Simisear also got buffs as well. The biggest move that they all got is Fake Out. Fake Out is really good, and I think that while you probably don't want to run the Fire Fake Out monkey because, you can just run Incineroar, the grass one, maybe, but the move that I'm really excited by is the one that has Simipour has, which is Flip Turn, allowing it to get off the field as well. And so if you have a way to do a little chip damage, get off the field, you can switch back in and then get your Fake Outs live again. It also has a pretty good speed tier. You can see that 168 number is a 1 point faster than max speed Charizard Y. It is sadly slower than Garchomp and Floette if they are running max speed, but still, it's a good speed tier. And it has moves like Rock Tomb if you want to. I think this makes it a roll to KO Charizard Ys if they don't have any bulk, if I recall correctly. So you can run Rock Tomb. You can also run Icy Wind if you want to go special, but I really wanted my Flip Turns to hit as hard as possible. So I opted into a physical set with Fake Out, Liquidation, Flip Turn, and Rock Tomb. It also has some other cool options. It actually got a lot of new moves, but the one that I was most intrigued by was actually a move called Stuffed Cheeks, which is, I think, Greedent's signature move. I've never seen it used before, but Stuffed Cheeks allows you to, here it is, boost your defense by 2 stages, and also use your berry, which sadly is not very good right now when most of the berries in the game are type resist berries or status berries. So they already proc when they are required to, with the exception of Citrus Berry, which I guess you can use at a higher HP stat if you really wanted to. But Stuffed Cheeks allows you, if you had a Pitaya Berry, for example, that allows you to boost your special attack when you are at low hit points, can potentially be a way to get a +1 special attack, +2 defense boost on one turn, turn 1. And then it also has moves like Recycle as well, or if you want to click Belch, for example, for some reason, you can do that. It gets a lot of different moves that allow you to abuse that berry, and so all of a sudden, all 3 of the Simmies, it is kind of cool that they have this new move that maybe we'll see play when we get new berries. Is that really good enough to run Simisear? I do think that there might be a team that really wants that fast Fake Out on a certain typing, either grass typing or water typing, that might use one of the elemental monkeys. Flip Turn does give it a little more viability, but still, I don't think this is actually better than using a Sneasler or an Incineroar as your Fake Out user, or even a Blastoise as your Fake Out user, and finding a different option as your water type. Alright, next let's talk about Ariados, which I know is not a Pokemon that you thought of, but it turns out it is actually one of the 7 Pokemon in the game that has a redirection move, either Follow Me or Rage Powder, which immediately makes it semi-viable. It also has a really, really cool combination of moves in First Impression that is brand new to it. Also got a buff to 100 base power from, I believe, 90 base power previously, so it just got a little stronger. And then also it has Toxic Threat, which is a move that only it gets in this game right now, and it lowers your opponent's speed by 2 stages and also poisons it, which is a really, really strong combination. Now, I don't know if we have the tools to abuse a combination like this, but Toxic Threat is a really good move. And sadly, it would be a lot better on a Pokemon that had a higher speed stat. Ariados is very, very slow. I think it has a base 45 speed. So you're not actually getting the fast Electrowebs type effect that you would really want to have. But still, again, this is a good support move combined with Rage Powder, which is a pretty unique support move on a typing that doesn't really get this sort of support move, namely Poison right now. So it is a redirector that can, for example, Poison Jab to knock out a Floette. I actually don't think it knocks out a Floette, but it does hit it super effectively. And similarly, First Impression is a pretty cool move. It also gets Bug Bite as another option, where, because every team has a Citrus Berry, it can be quite strong to steal some berries. It's not nearly as strong as, say, a Scizor's Bug Bite. It also gets moves like Sucker Punch and Knockoff. It also gets Shadow Sneak as a move, so it does have a surprisingly versatile move pool, but its stats are really, really aggressively bad. It needs a Focus Sash to try to take any hits, and if you're clicking Rage Powder and you need a Focus Sash, that never really feels that good when there are better Rage Powder users. So is Ariados going to be viable now? Probably not, but it got a lot better. Like it got some really, really big buffs in this Pokemon Champions release, but it's still an Ariados, man. You can't use this guy. All right, let's talk about Wyrdeer. Sadly, its signature move, Psy Shield Bash, was absolutely unusable for a long time. It had a 70 base power and 90% accuracy, which is crazy, crazy bad in Scarlet and Violet. So you couldn't even fathom using this move. But it does have the big upside of raising your defense by a stage. Now it got buffed to a 90 base power, 90 accuracy move. So legitimately, like, could be worse. It does have, and I think this move would be good on other Pokemon. It actually has a decent attack stat. Despite the fact that I'm running very little attack on Adamant, I, have hit a decent number for a Pokemon that is really a support Pokemon, and it has a good amount of bulk. And again, it has Psy Shield Bash and it has Intimidate, so it has like the survivability, especially on the physical side. It's going to be hard to knock out. It also has Trick Room, so it's one of the very few Trick Room setters that can also intimidate your opponent, helping you guarantee that you set up Trick Room. And so the problem is, what does it actually do once it gets that defense boost and once it gets all set up? And that's the tough part, because it doesn't actually do a lot of damage on its own. And so you can get as many defense boosts as you want. If you're not turning that into, say, a body press to use that defense to do more damage, or something like that, then okay, you're just going to sit there and get ignored for the entire game. Now, one niche it does have is it has Skill Swap with Intimidate, and that would be really cool, especially with something like Milotic. I think this is a real idea that you could test out, and you can skill swap your opponent to guarantee that Milotic gets the +2 special attack boost from competitive. However, you can't do that with Psy Shield Dash, because Psy Shield Dash is a physical move and you still get intimidated. So its special attack and its physical attack are basically the same. At that point, you have to run a special attacker if you are using something like that. So you wouldn't actually run boosted Psy Shield Bash. If you want to use this move, I think you have to run Double Edge and really try to do any damage, because it's a normal type and it has a high base power. So even though you're taking recoil, you just really need that damage output. And I guess it has a niche as a Trick Room setter. And again, Skill Swap is really cool with Intimidate, but not quite good enough. I'm really sad that Psy Shield Bash isn't a special move. If this was a special attacking move, it'd be so much better, because you can combine it with Calm Mind to boost your special attack, boost your special defense, and then also boost your defense every time you attack with your Psychic Stab. That would have been really strong, but sadly not the case. So Wyrdeer, probably not viable, but I'm glad that they buffed its signature move, because it was really bad. Okay, I know what you're going to say. Tsareena is totally viable. It's a good VGC Pokemon. It has top cut multiple regionals over the course of many, many years. Why is it on this list? And you're right. I'll go by this one quickly, because you know what Tsareena does if you've watched VGC. It has the ability Queenly Majesty that allows it to block priority moves. Essentially, it's much like Farigiraf, and that's really good. In close team sheet, you can maybe get away with Sweet Veil as well to block your partners from getting put to sleep, which is pretty cool. But Queenly Majesty is the reason to run this guy. It's also a grass type with triple axle. It has fighting coverage and high jump kick. It's a pretty good Pokemon. It's got a decent speed tier as well. But the real reason that I want to talk about it is because Trop Kick, its signature move, got a buff, alongside a number of other Pokemon, again, whose signature moves got buffs. But Trop Kick was already reasonably good. It lowers your opponent's attack by a stage, and now going from a 70 base power move to an 85 base power move, I believe. Now this move actually does damage. So now you've got a real grass stab attack that does damage and also lowers your opponent's attack. That is a strong combination. So Tsareena, I think, is maybe a little underused right now. I'm surprised that we don't see more of it, because this Pokemon really does have a strong toolkit. All right, back to the dog shit. The next and last Pokemon that we have is Flapple. This is another Pokemon that got a boost to its signature move. Grav Apple went up from 80 to 90 base power, and that might not seem like a lot. There were a few signature moves that got that 10 base power buff, but this is bigger than you think because of multipliers, because this move gets a 50% boost when gravity is active, and then also gets another boost from its ability Hustle, that is essentially a choice band. So obviously you are only ever going to use Hustle with Grav Apple in gravity, so that you basically guarantee that you still continue to connect with your moves. But if you could set up gravity, this is a lot of damage. Grav Apple hits really hard. Dragon Rush is a serviceable Dragon Stab move with, again, a very low accuracy, especially with Hustle. But base 100 power, it could be a lot worse, and it does have a flinch chance as well. And then U-Turn is pretty good. The thing is, people would want to run Dragon Dance on this guy. You cannot run Dragon Dance because you can't click Gravity in Dragon Dance. I'm sorry if it's too much setup. It's just asking too much. This Pokemon needs to have a Choice Scarf, so that it has a decent speed tier. It outspeeds things like Charizard, for example. It will outspeed Garchomp and Floette, and so it can revenge kill all of those guys, which is actually a pretty strong attribute. And Gravity is like really not bad on Meowstic. So, and there are other Gravity abusers. In fact, in my live stream, I showcased my first edition. It needs some work of a Gravity team that I was playing around with a little bit when I was streaming the entirety of our first local tournament. And so I think that this is a cool option. I will say, having tested that Gravity team a little more, I would probably drop the Flapple from it. Its speed tier is a little awkward. It still is slower than things like, I believe, like Sneasler is, what, 189 speed? And yeah, this does not outspeed Sneasler if they're Jolly. It does not outspeed things like Mega Gengar either, and so it can be a little awkward when you get outsped by poison types that do just knock you out with a Sludge Bomb. But overall, like, this is a lot of multipliers. If you put this thing in Gravity, and if you clear out the slightly faster Pokemon than it, this thing will hit really hard. And so those are 5 Pokemon that basically never ever see play in VGC that I think got pretty real buffs in Pokemon Champions that maybe people should be exploring a little more, as well as one Pokemon that does actually see VGC play that got even better that I just wanted to highlight a little bit. But if you think I missed anything, make sure to leave a comment down below, and if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. We got a lot more Pokemon Champions content coming out, and we are on the verge of reaching that 10,000 subscriber milestone, so I would really love it if you could help me get there. Thank you all for watching. Shout out to my channel members, and until next time, I will see you all later.